You are with the big story here. I'm Sahar Zaman. In what seems to be another indicator of the jobs crisis here, graduates who are holding degrees and diplomas in engineering and arts have applied for government sanitation workers posts in Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu. There have been nearly 7,000 applicants who applied for 549 posts available in this category. 70% of these candidates have completed their 10 standard exams, the minimum qualification that is needed for this post. Now, the applicants here claim that they turned up for this interview because it was a permanent government job with a basic salary of 15,000 rupees. This is in Tamil Nadu today, but we should remember, just a couple of days back, there were similar scenes that we'd seen in Patna. MBA degree holders and graduates that applied for Group D jobs in the Bihar Assembly. There were 5 applicants that applied for 166 posts.
BSc psychology முடிச்சிருக்கேன். இங்க மாநகராட்சியில CMC வேலைக்கு ஆள் எடுக்கறதா சொன்னாங்க. அதுக்கு அப்ளை பண்ணியிருந்தேன். இன்னைக்கு இன்டர்வியூ. BSc psychology முடிச்சிட்டேன். இதுல எஜுகேஷன் குவாலிஃபிகேஷன்லாம் எதுவும் மென்ஷன் பண்ணல. இருந்தாலும் எதுக்கு போட்டேன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் ஜாபுக்கு வேண்டி தான் போட்டேன்.
I completed my engineering graduate in private college. Now I am searching for a government job. I have completed engineering but not getting a particular job in my field. So I am searching and applying for this job. They are calling for municipality workers, scavenger workers.
But still you are trying for a good job.
Yeah.
Why you are applying for this?
Because I am searched many of the places and not getting a good job. So I am applied there.
Let's get in further inputs. We have with us our correspondent Pramod getting us those details here. Pramod, you've interacted with some of those applicants on the reason why they're applying for this job. Is this the biggest indicator that you have our educated youth applying for jobs that are much below their qualification here only because there aren't openings for what suits their education today?
Well, it certainly is, because imagine 7,000 applicants applying for 549 jobs, and that is the first indicator. And the second one is that most of them are extremely overqualified. And the shocking part here is that we also got information from the ground that since the notification was given only at the last moment, it's 7,000, or it could be a minimum of 21,000 applicants. So that's the kind of bigger issue that we have to concentrate. As you exactly saw, they have they hold psychology degree, they hold engineering degree, many hold diploma degree as well, whereas the job does not require any education qualification, and that's the shocking part. Many of those who actually spoke to us very clearly mentioned that they have applied in various areas, they did not get an appropriate job. Whatever they've studied for, they could not find the job for that. And the second thing is that even if they get a job, they are not paid well. 6,000 to 7,000 rupees, anybody cannot run a family in this day and age, but that's what they're being paid, and that's the reason they thought they can come ahead. This being a government job, even though it only pays you a lesser amount, it is a guaranteed job, and they decided to go ahead and apply for it.
That's right. Well, Pramod, stay on with us, please. In more details that are coming in from our colleague Viren Farao. This is to explain, of course, putting aside other figures related to the job crisis, related to the economy that are being scrutinized. The biggest figure for this indicator would be the GDP. And how would it be connected to the job crisis? Please explain that.
Right, thanks, Sahar. So let's, why we're talking about the GDP, you'd wonder in the middle of all this, is purely because we're expecting the GDP numbers for today's, in fact, for the second quarter of this financial year, which will come out this evening. But let's tell you what GDP actually is. So don't worry about the jargon. I'm going to try and simplify it for you. It basically estimates the size of an economy. So if your GDP is higher, it means your economy is growing faster. It's growing in size and bringing many more people into the mainstream. Now, what does this mean? Now, it measures the value of all goods and services that are made in a country during a specific period. Now, GDP numbers usually are, that will come out today at least, will be for 3 months. So it tells you what industry looks like over those last 3 months. It also tells you, in fact, it reflects on how much the economy has grown over these 3 months. Now, the government, remember, Sahar has been talking about how the economy is still growing. India continues to be the fastest growing economy in this region of the world, in Asia. Is that the truth? We'll find out today. Now, what else does it tell you? It also tells you that, in fact, GDP growth in the April to June quarter, the 3 months of the first quarter of the financial year, was 5%. Now, this is being predicted even lesser in this particular quarter. Many rating agencies come up with their own estimation, SBI as well, among the many companies, including PSUs, who have also offering their own estimates of GDP. Now, the slowest growth, this is in the last 6 years, which is where the worry really lies. Sahar, because the government has been riding a wave of a strong economy. It's been talking about this for quite some time. The fact that it is dipped to this extent is really a big worry, in fact, for the government. And that's the reason why all of this, these images that we're seeing today from Tamil Nadu, makes this look far worse.
All right, Viren, many thanks for getting us those details here. And here's why it's important here to scrutinize the GDP figures first and then break this down to other categories. Let me, in fact, throw this open to our panelists this afternoon here as well. We have Mr. Anupam, who's the spokesperson of Swaraj India, also Mr. Narayana Tirupati, spokesperson of the BJP. First to you, Mr. Tirupati, would you call this a job crisis? Going by these two glaring examples of this 1 week that we've seen both in Tamil Nadu as well as Bihar, where you have educated youngsters not applying for jobs which matches up to their qualification, instead choosing to apply for Group D, or they're doing this out of no choice, as long as they earn a bare minimum of 15,000 rupees per month?
See, I don't see this is a crisis when you compare GDP and these things. In 2016, in Uttar Pradesh, for 3,275 posts, Kanpur Municipal Corporation, more than 5 lakh people, they applied, including graduates, postgraduates, and also PhDs. So it is happening for a very long time. In 2016, you know, what was our GDP? So GDP has got nothing to do with this. First of all, I would like to, I don't buy that argument what your channel has been saying all this time. And number two is that in Tamil Nadu, there are 1,000 colleges of, engineering colleges and other colleges. And because of the imbalance between the job availability, the particular job availability, and the students who are coming out of their colleges, definitely this problem is there. Not today, it's there for more than 2-3 decades. That is what is happening. And we all know how these things have happened, because we have not created job opportunities to that of the students studying in the said subjects. This is the problem. That should be taken care of by the state governments. Definitely that should be taken care. And also the parents who want their, their wards to become only engineering graduates. This has been a problem. But in the last 1 or 2 years, things are changing in Tamil Nadu, because all these engineering colleges are slowly they are cutting down, they are closing down, they are trying to make it as arts and science colleges. Things are happening, but it will take some time.
Mr. Anupam, please respond to that this has been happening for quite some time. It's a question of having far too many engineers, far too many graduates. Should we not take into account other aspects of industry shrinking, of jobs not being created, not being sustained in the market, which is why we have our educated youth applying for Class 4 Group D jobs?
Safar, although the trigger for your discussion is the government job sector, from 2 examples from the government job sector in Tamil Nadu and in Bihar, but it clearly reflects the serious lack of employment opportunities, or else why would engineering graduates apply for sanitation workers? Or for that matter, we have similar other examples from various other states as well. In year 2016, we had an example of 23 lakh candidates applying for 368 peon posts in Uttar Pradesh. We recently, a couple of months back, had had an example of 15 lakh candidates applying for around 4,000 posts of Group D clerk in Haryana. We have we come across various similar examples every month, every week. So this clearly reflects the serious lack of employment opportunities in our economy in all sectors, which is also reflected in various other indicators as well. GDP is of course one such indicator, but even when you break it down to the specific sectoral indicators, we have seen there is a serious lack of growth in the agriculture sector. There is the manufacturing sector is on a slowdown. The automotive sector, we have seen what has happened, such a serious decline in the last 19 years. And overall, the most important of everything, consumption has gone so low. We had this recent NSO survey, which the government has tried to bury, as it has done with any other such survey, which clearly says that the consumption, that rural consumption and urban consumption, and when I say of consumption, it is not about consumption of commodities or for that matter automotives. This NSO survey reflected that consumption of salt, of staple crops, of even we have seen consumption going down in case of electricity, which has never happened in the past. So our economy is in a serious crisis.
Okay, so this is basic,
and joblessness
basic
is
necessities.
of course one such manifestation of our economy going in crisis. And the most unfortunate part, Safar, is that most of our people in power, the BJP spokesperson which you earlier spoke to, no one is acknowledging that there is a problem. How would you solve the problem if you are not ready to acknowledge it?
Okay, I'm going to go to Mr. Tirupati on that in just a bit. I'm sure Mr. Narayan Tirupati wants to respond to that. But we don't want to reduce this to a blame game. We also want to look at the aspect of the measures that the government has taken. What are these measures that in the past few weeks that we've taken for the government in boosting the economy? What were announced in the past few weeks and how have they worked so far? Viren Farao is to explain that to us here. Viren, in those measures that were announced by the finance minister, these were supposed to boost certain industries, certain aspects of the economy. Has that worked so far?
Well, Sahar, the issues, of course, that we've seen with the economy have been precipitating over a period of time. Now, let's tell our viewers what has been done so far, and then we'll come to how long this actually takes to come into effect. It all began with the corporate tax rate, in fact, being slashed for the government. The government thought that this was a great idea to help it to bring industries to a level where they say, okay, I can now invest money in the economy, because ultimately that is much needed. Aside from government spending, you also need industries to spend, and the way of doing that, the government thought, was to reduce the tax burden on them. Now, what they've also done for the common man, for home buyers across the country, is the setting up of special real estate fund. Now, this is primarily to target these unfinished projects, housing projects that have been stuck for one reason or another, largely often because, not for permission purposes, but because, the company has run out of money, as we've seen with some large construction companies, and therefore these projects stall. Projects that would usually take place in 3 years have gone on for 5 and 10 years. So this was the measure that the government said would help them. What they also decided was to merge some public sector banks. Okay. Now, some of our banks, Sahar, were in a pretty bad shape. The point is that the government thought that consolidating these banks into fewer entities would help the health of these banks. What else did the government do? They also brought about a slew of measures to revive the auto sector. Remember, Sahar, the auto sector is one of the very, very badly hit sectors. Their revenue has gone down significantly, and the government thought that these moves would try and revive the auto sector to quite an extent. The Diwali period brought about some cheer, but it's been a terrible 12 months for the auto sector. And finally, very quickly, the RBI has cut key rates by 1.35% this year. Now, while, yes, everyone will say the RBI, the government has no control over the RBI, but there is a consultative process. The RBI also looks at the state of the economy and what is the best possible measures forward. So these are some of the things that have been done. However, most industry experts themselves would admit that for all these things to come into effect, it's a gradual process that happens over months or years.
Right, so this is not going to be showing the desirable results yet, but the crisis is what we are still undergoing, and that the government, of course, though is not acknowledging, as many critics have stated. Mr. Tirupati, please respond to that. There needs to be an acknowledgement of the crisis, even in your response to these two cases that we brought out, both from Bihar and Tamil Nadu. There is no acknowledgement that this could be because of a job crisis. Why would our educated, qualified youth be applying for these jobs? That this is a crisis. There hasn't been a job creation for them in the market, which is why they're forced to look this way.
See, not only here, even in China, this is happening. I can give you a lot of, instances where, Harbin Municipal Corporation in China, we have got more than, 10,000 people applying for 457 jobs recently. See, it is happening throughout the world. We have to understand. See, when you said the initial thing is that because of the
Okay,
GDP
I'm afraid we'll have to break away very briefly from this discussion. Apologize for that. We're getting in live inputs here. Switching the focus back here to what we are discussing with respect to the job crisis. The job crisis is something even the new Maharashtra government has spoken about, taking that as top priority. But Anupam, coming to you now, in what Mr. Tirupati was stating, that these are indicators that have been around for decades, and not to necessarily blame the current government for not doing enough for creating those jobs.
For this, we recently came across this PLFS survey, the Periodic Labor Force Survey by the National Sample Survey Organization, which says that unemployment in the country has broken 45-year record. So it has for the first time broken this 45-year record. Automotive sector sales decline has broken 19-year record. The consumption has broken 40-year record. So we cannot say that it has been happening in the last 20 decades. I understand, and most of the experts have been saying this, that since 2011-12, our economy and the state of employment in the country has been on a downhill. That I agree, but it has been since 2011-12. But the real trigger for all that is all the disaster in the economy was that one decision taken on 8th of November 2016, the demonetization, which initially completely collapsed the unorganized sector, which comprises almost 90% of our job market. And then because all such sectors are linked from unorganized to MSME to organized, then every other sector. So we are seeing it in every sector today.
That's right.
Demonetization was a trigger. The flawed application of GST was another such step. And then we haven't
Mr.
seen...
Tirupati, this is a criticism that you would hear very often, that this all accelerated since demonetization, then the immediate application of GST, changes and tweaking of it, which we're still going through. And along these lines, across all of these arguments here, in all the figures that we're getting, some of them that have been released by the government, some of them that have been pulled back by the government, saying that they need to be changed, they need to perhaps be recalculated, and the process needs to be changed here. But in all of them, there is a slowdown. To what extent would you be looking away from this slowdown? It is affecting people's lives, it is affecting consumption patterns. As Mr. Anupam was explaining, this is not consumption for just buying cars or luxury items. It is affecting consumption of food. To what extent are we going to be having the government in denial here?
See, absolutely, the inflation is in control like any other decade, okay. So we have been saying that the inflation is under control, the prices have not raised, the prices have been very stable. And also, see, you cannot compare the GDP with the employment opportunities, what we are speaking. Throughout the world, this is happening for so many decades. This is a government, these people, they want government jobs. That is the main thing. You go to a survey, even in Mirror now we have spoken, that more than 90% of the engineering students, they don't get jobs because of their accent in English. That is what I can give you so many surveys on that. And see, even as he rightly said, more than 15 lakh people
But Mr. Tirupati, even within government jobs,
that's what they have done.
Even within government jobs, if you have engineers applying for Group 4 jobs, that is a tragedy.
No, I said no, it is not like that, because That's what I said. The imbalance between the jobs which are available and the education. What see, even in your interview in Coimbatore today, I saw with Madhav. He was saying that he could not get a particular job, so he is trying for a particular job. So he is convenient with a government job. That is what is happening. But as far as unorganized sector is concerned, I totally deny what my co-panelist said. There is no track or there is no documents available for the statistics available for the unorganized sector in India. As he rightly pointed out, more than 90% belongs to unorganized sector. Where from these documents are coming?
Okay.
How they say this?
Mr.
They say that
Mr. Anupam, I'm afraid
the
we're running
employment
out
has
of
gone
time.
up. There is
We'll
no
have to
document
leave it
so
at that.
far.
But it is disappointing here to listen that if you have educated youth applying for jobs of sanitation workers, which is what not them they educated themselves for, it is a tragedy. Let's not look at this as an option, as a choice that they're exercising out of their own free will. It is a tragedy in the making here that you have our qualified, educated youth applying for jobs of class 4. If that was the case, they wouldn't have educated themselves any further than class 10. This cannot be seen as normal. This cannot be seen as an issue one needs to be blasé about. It is a crisis. We need to call it a crisis. We need to define it as a crisis and then work on fixing it. Appreciate all our viewers for being with us here on this, our panelists here as well.